Evening, everyone, and welcome. Coming up next on tonight's installment of Speed Gaming Events, we have another match scheduled for the Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer 2020 tournament. Tonight's match will be between RickyofKokiri and Jabem, also affectionately regarded as the Michael Bublé of gaming at GDQ. After reviewing the progress on the challenge page, it appears that after this race, Ricky will have concluded all of his matches in the group play chapter of this tournament. We will, of course, have one more match in Group A between Jabem and Macobra 52, and that will be scheduled for this Friday at 5 p.m. Jabem is a player whose talents I've had a chance to see over the past year, especially with speedrunning an SMB3 ROM hack called SMB3 Mix, and seeing the community that he's built around the game. A lot of those skills, of course, do carry over for both vanilla SMB3 and Randomizer. And so I'm looking forward to so it looks like, yeah, sorry about that for just a moment. So it looks like both races are starting off fresh out of the gates with level 1-6. So Jabem is the first one out, with Ricky not too far behind. So the next will be coming up on 1-5. They're going to want to be really careful just going down that hill, because just due to the way the enemy spawns, sometimes it's not there. You don't have the convenience just sliding down and just killing the enemies that way. So they're going to want to take their time a little bit just to avoid taking some damage along the way. Jabem, unfortunately, losing his mushroom power-up, so he's going to drop down and then just grab the mushroom over there. No problem at all. So it's going to cost him a bit of time, especially to get back up that hill. Ricky trades the lead back, and he'll be making his way out of 1-5. Coming up next, we have level 1-4. As you'll see, auto-scrollers are disabled. So even though there is a P-speed strat that's involved with level 1-4, you probably won't see either of the racers going for it, just because of how meticulous some of the inputs can be. And especially since towards the end of the level, it's very easy just to get cornered by some of the flying flame chomps and the fire snakes that could potentially come up. I've opted to stop by in the World 1 Fortress to grab the power up on the top. So he'll have an extra P-wing that he'll have in his inventory coming later on. So he's taking a bit of a detour that'll cost him a little bit of time. We'll see if RickyofKokiri will follow suit, and then see if he could do the item grab in 1-3. Definitely be of good use to him, since some of the enemy spawns in this area can be a little tricky to work around, especially when you're just trying to drop into the background through the white block. And it turns out to be a fire flower. Fire flowers are especially valued in Randomizer, just because you'll have something to defend yourself with if you come across some of the enemies that are a little tricky to contend with. Gonna follow suit. He's gonna be going for the fire flower as well. Meanwhile, we see on Ricky's screen that we have a bit of a tricky 1-2 with that angry sun just looming around the corner. So thankfully, that star just made things a little bit easier to manage. Jabem wasn't able to get a P-speed build going down that hill, but once again, it looks like that star is going to pay off in the long run. So Ricky will be the first one out of World 1. He'll be making his way over to the airship, and we'll see what item that Hammer Bro has, and it appears to be a star. Ricky taking a little bit of damage from those bullet bills and cannonballs, but he makes it through there no problem. See how many hits Larry Cooper decides to take, and it looks like it's going to be a two-hitter. So really nice done on Ricky's end. So Jabem will have a nice advantage going into World 2 when if he's able to hold on to that Fire Flower. Bowser is really just 4 Koopas in a trench coat. And yet I've yet to see any Mario game where Bowser is actually wearing a trench coat. So World 2, we'll see if there's going to be locks in our way as Ricky takes his way through the pipe path. And it looks like that 1 fort that's in World 2 is going to be a required one. So they'll be making their way over to 2F, but first we're going to do the end speed game. And we'll see if we see any matches. So just as a reminder, it doesn't really matter what the contents of the cards you're matching are, because the items that you get in your inventory as a result from the pairs are always going to be random. So even if you get 2 flowers, you could end up with a hammer suit or a cloud or a hammer in your inventory, etc. And the same goes for getting a pair of 1-ups. All right, so we have both racers in 2F. Again, Jabem's going to have a bit of an advantage because he has that extra Fire Flower, so he'll get a fairly quick boom boom fire kill. That'll save him about 2 or 3 seconds. Hopefully we have a pretty reasonable enemy spawn in the spike room. Oftentimes you'll see a rogue hotfoot that can kind of slow you down if you're trying to maneuver your way around them. So if you have a Boo or a Dry Bones, you'll have an opportunity to build that P-Speed, which both of them were able to do. So Jabem's going to follow suit with the end speed game. We'll see if he has any luck himself. It's 1 pit. Now we know where the 10 coins are, so we'll see if any of our racers will be able to remember that for the next cycle. RickyofKokiri is going to stop by for the Mushroom House. We'll see what's in those chests. And it appears to be another Fire Flower. Very nice. Unfortunately, it looks like Jabem took damage from that Flying Koopa in the Angry Sun level. And yeah, sometimes the enemy spawns can be pretty brutal with Cheep Cheeps and Boss Bats that can just appear out of midair like that. So looks like he was able to get that dodge at the last minute. So fortunately, he ended up small, but he's able to get through the level no problem. So measure, it's a good idea to enter the Hammer Bro fight with at least 1 sort of power up, whether it's a star or a mushroom. And he's gonna get a music box. Probably not the item that he was looking for, especially considering how valuable clouds and hammers can be. So he doesn't opt to build any acceleration by sliding down the hill, but he does have another power up along the way. So we'll see if the enemies are especially nice to him. You get a nice boost off of that block towards the end of the Oasis. Again, very nice job holding on to that power up. It could be pretty tricky just trying to get to the end of the lake there. So we're making our way over to 2-5. So yeah, most of the level is going to be pretty consistent with the vanilla SMB3, just with regards to the chain chomp locations. But depending on how you build P-Speed and how you execute your jumps, it is still very easy just to get debated by some of the Koopa and Paragoomba locations. So unfortunately, it set back Jabem a little bit, so he's going to have to restart. Meanwhile, we have Ricky taking a little bit of damage in 2-2, but he's making through there no problem. Not very far behind at all. So we have each of our races only one level apart from each other, so still very much within striking distance of each other. So Jabem will be the first to make his way over to the World 2 airship. He gets a nice Fire Flower along the way. Unfortunately, couldn't hold on to it. Got a little bit tripped up by those bullet bills. takes to defeat Morton Koopa. So looks like he's going to be a one-hitter, but unfortunately got a little bit cornered in by that jump there. Meanwhile, we have RickyofKokiri making his way through the Hammer Bro fight. He'll be picking up that same music box that Jabem did. So very, very nicely done from both of our racers so far. So we'll be making our way over to World 3. And so just right out of the gate, we have 3 pipes that both of our racers will be able to do some trial and error with. So it'll be a good opportunity to see which of these pipes will help us make our way over to the airship. Doesn't look like either of our racers have a hammer in their inventory. It looks like Jabem tried to use the anchor as a wild card in case it ended up being something that he could use to break the lock. Unfortunately, it ended up being a cloud, but he had nowhere he could use it, so it ended up being burned. Unfortunately, to the first fortress of World 3. Through there, no problem. Get a nice quick fire kill on Boom Boom, and we'll see if that ends up being the one that breaks the lock. Fortunately, it did not end up being the one that he wanted, but he does get an end spade card game as his consolation prize. So we get 1 match pair. We get 2 match pairs. Very nice. 3 pairs. Very lucky there. Right. So it looks like Jabem's going to have to do the second fortress because. That first slot that we saw is the one that exploded, so he's going to have to play 3F2. They're having to backtrack to see if the airship was open. Gets the power swim into the pipe. So he'll want to maneuver his way past those roto discs, and he'll be awaiting Boom Boom shortly. So it looks like Ricky is going to be doing the same thing. He'll be playing the in-speed card game. We'll see how much luck he has with that. Already have 1 pair down. See if we can go for another one. All right, we got 2 pairs of flowers. All right, we got a pair of stars. So it looks like both of our races are really lucking out with this with the card game. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what ends up in their inventory as a result. So Jabem's going to be checking back the pipe, and it looks like that opened up the pathway to the World 3 airship. So Jabem will have a really nice advantage if he can hold on to that fire flower, because Wendy Koopa is one of those bosses where she's the easiest fire kill in SMB3. Because she doesn't do any jump patterns automatically, and she's pretty consistent from seed to seed. And since you're fighting her on flat ground, that allows you to pace yourself at a fair distance to get those pairs and maintain rhythm. But unfortunately, it looks like he's going to have to do a jump kill on her instead. He took a little bit of damage there. So thankfully, Jabem has another fire in his inventory. Ricky has done a really good job catching up, so they're only half the screen apart at this point. So it's still very much anyone's game. I don't think that Jabem meant to do that jump there because that ended up activating the jump portion of Wendy's AI. Got a little tripped up by that by Wendy jumping and just throwing the ring, but he gets it through there, albeit as Small Mario. So he'll be the first one going into World 4. Very nicely done. Ricky is doing a very good job holding onto his fire flower. He gets the fire kill. So they're only a couple seconds apart right now. So we'll see what fun stuff that World 4 has in store for us. So pretty much par for the course for World 4. We're gonna have to build a bridge in order to get to that airship. So we'll see which of these two forts will be the one to do the trick. So we're going to be starting off with 4-2 with an Angry Sun, although I don't think we're going to be really seeing it very long because by the time he starts to activate, the level's pretty much done. It looks like Ricky got caught by the boss bass, had a bit of a miscalculated jump, and then just got cornered in the water like that. Right, so Jabem has a secondary power-up, so he'll be able to take damage twice, which is particularly helpful in 4F1, considering just how easy it is to get caught by thwomps and boos and the hotfoot in this level. But thankfully, he was able to get another power-up along the way, so he gets through 4F1 no problem. The enemy cycles can be particularly mean in this fort, just because sometimes you'll get boos or dry bones that get dropped from where the hotfoot candles are. So as you're trying to run across, it's very easy for something to just drop on your head. Have a secondary power-up like a tail or a fire flower. I think the next best option would be to have a star. At least from my experience, that's the case. Looks like Jabem wasn't able to hold on to that star, but it doesn't matter because he's able to still get the dodge on those two boomerangs. Ricky's playing a little bit safe, trying to get past that horizontal moving thwomp. Gets through there no problem, so he'll be catching up with Jabem again real soon. Jabem opting to use a P-Wing for 4-5. If you measure to get past the bullet bills that are going to be coming your way. The unique thing about 4-5 is that bullet bills, they flash and they turn back and try to seek you out. But even then, they're not really too difficult to dodge. All right, so we have looks like we have a path open for the World 4 airship. Jabem's going to take another shot at that at the end speed game. Gets another pair of stars. Well, we see RickyofKokiri as Small Mario. He's going to take a star into the first Hammer Bro fight, and he'll be making his way over through the gauntlet. So he'll be meeting Jabem shortly in the ship. So, although there is a pretty straightforward P-Speed strat that you can do for the World 4 airship, if you do happen to have a tail, it would be just as fast. Just to use the mechanic to glide past those pretty wide gaps in order to make your way past the jet flames and go straight to Iggy. So we have a bit of a quaking going on with Iggy, but he didn't get any hitbox issues, so he's able to get through there without any damage. Very nicely done. Ricky is taking an identical strat to Jabem in 4-5, just using a P-Wing to make your way past all the platforming and the bullet bills. So Jabem will be our first racer making his way over to World 5, and we'll see what level we'll be starting on then. We'll see what the map layout looks like, to see what's in their inventory, if they got any hammers or clouds from their end speed game. So those can definitely have an influence on how they route their way to the ship. Right, so Jabem is making his way through 5-7, no problem. He builds some P-Speed right into the pipe, and he's able to carry it all the way to the level card. Very nicely done. And Ricky clears out the board for the end speed game. So looks like he got a hammer for his efforts. Very nice. So that'll give him a nice advantage going to World 5. Doesn't look like he's going to need it though, because doesn't look like there's any block obstructing the path to the ship. Opportunities in the seat where they could come into play. Looks like Ricky's going to be taking a bit of a pedestrian route through the World 4 airship. Going to be a little bit safe around these jet flames so we can hold on to his fire flower, which is definitely not a bad idea. So Jabem is doing a very nice job holding on to his P-speed for the World 5 second fortress. Took a little bit of damage from the Potovu, but he still gets through there no problem, and he'll make some... we'll get a nice quick defeat on Boom Boom. Like Ricky got a little bit caught up by that by Iggy's jumps there. That was really close dodging there. Got cornered in by those two wand shots, and that's not a good combination when you're when you could be potentially stun locked by those quakes. So very nicely done on his end as well. So Jabem is making his way through 5-8. Definitely a good level to have a start as a form of safety, because those Lakitus can really obstruct your path when they throw the spinies the way they do, especially on those last two sets of platforms. So Jabem has a nice quick access to the World 5 airships, so didn't look like he was able to get P-speed right away, but he's still maintaining a pretty solid lead, so he'll be making his way over to Roy Cooper. We'll see what kind of pattern we get. So we get an early one-shot, so unfortunately, doesn't look like it's going to be the easiest fire kill in the world, especially since Roy is going full Michael Jordan on us. But nonetheless, he gets through there no damage, and he'll be making his way over to World 6. So RickyofKokiri, it looks like he's making his way over to 5-7 as well, and he's going into it with a fire flower. So we'll see how nice those enemies decide to treat him. It looks like the Paragoomba is being a bit of a jerk there, but he gets through there. Jabem is making his way over through 6-1. Unfortunately, looks like he got caught by that boss bass there. One of the things about boss bass, though, is like whenever I do a randomizer personally, I try to keep him. I try to keep him in sight as much as I can, and try not to get any kills on him with the fire flower, if that's possible, because sometimes he can respawn in a really nasty spot, and he can just grab you out of thin air just the way he did just now. Looks like Jabem's going to opt to cloud over 6-1 and then just keep pushing forward. Really not a bad idea. He'll have a hammer in his inventory now from that Hammer Bro fight, so that's definitely a good place where they can come into play in World 6, especially considering how long the World 6 overworld map can be. In the best case scenario, he'll want to be conservative with his hammers and then just hope for a nice convenient shortcut from the pipe warps. Looks like Ricky was getting a little bit tripped up by those Potoboos in 5F2, so unfortunately he doesn't have his Fire Flower for the Boom Boom fight. But he's still able to get through there no problem, and he'll be moving forward. We see Jabem finishing up Boom Boom in 6F1. So Ricky is making his way through 5-8 as well. He's going to pick up a Fire Flower along the way. So contrary to the strategy in vanilla of just building P-speed on those first three clouds and then just P-speeding your way through, it's probably a good idea in Randomizer just to take things a little bit more carefully, since again, the enemy spawns can be a little bit rough in terms of dodging. Looks like he got caught by Lakitu right at the last minute. That's unfortunate. So we have Jabem checking out the pipes right now. We'll see if he's able to get a nice shortcut to the World 6 airship. Unfortunately, it looks like typical part for the course, he's just stuck behind the rocks, so he's going to have to think of a workaround. So looks like he's going to take a bit more of a scenic route to World 6 for both of our players. 610 is up next, so we'll see how he's making. Jabem makes use of that P-wing. Definitely not a bad idea for using the P-wing in this area, especially since you want to be a little bit safer with maneuvering around boss bass. So we have Ricky going through the next set of end spade cards. Didn't look like we got any pairs there, but he has some good information for the next cycle if he decides to go for it. So up next is 6-4 on Jabem's side. Probably the strat in vanilla here would be to go through this small Mario and then just kind of build piece speed and run your way through the coins that were activated through that switch. But having a tail here really isn't a bad idea either, especially when you want to have a nice safety measure against the fire snakes and the fire chomps right at the beginning of the level. So he gets through there pretty seamlessly. And up next, we'll see 4-1. You may be wondering, why is 4-1 doing in World 6? Well, normally in this flag set, you'll have World 4 levels in World 4 and etc., etc. But sometimes levels get switched around between worlds depending on how many forts end up in each respective overworld map, because the number of forts you find are shuffled. So sometimes levels are borrowed from other worlds in order to fill in those gaps. So one of those levels where it would have been helpful to have a tail going in, just because you have to make your way over through the over to the upper section to get to the exit. But Jabem has a nice backup plan going. He's going to build piece speed going into that pipe, and he's going to try to clip through that wall in order to get to the end. And he's able to get it in about 4 or 5 tries. Very nicely done. Very impressive every time I see it. Right, meanwhile, we have RickyofKokiri not too far behind. He's going to be making his way through 6-1 pretty seamlessly with the P-wing. See if he's able to get past that boss bass, which he does. Very nicely done. So looks like he charges at that end card with full piece speed, and he's going to pick up a 5-up along the way. So because he got those fireworks, it's going to cost him about 3 or 4 seconds. But because of how many things can go differently in Randomizer, I would say it's pretty inconsequential compared to doing a vanilla run of this game. So it's probably a really good idea to stock up on continues whenever you can, just because of all the things that this game can throw at you. So meanwhile, we have Jabem finishing up 6F2. And that ended up, so now that with all the forts out of the way, it looks like Jabem was able to make his way through to the World 6 airship. That star comes in handy for making his way past that first jet flame, but unfortunately it looks like it expired just as he was trying to make his way over to the steps. So, cost him a little bit of time, but honestly not too much, because it's still pretty much right at the beginning of the ship. So thankfully, he's going to be able to pick up another power right here, so we'll see what ends up being. Mushroom is going to be really nice going into World 7, so we'll see how many hits it takes to knock out Lemmy. Looks like he's going to be another one-hitter. So Jabem's going to be making his way over to World 7 first. RickyofKokiri is opting to go through level 6-2. Normally this level would be an auto-scroller, but just by the nature of Randomizer, that's going to be disabled. So he's going to have to do a little bit of platforming to make his way past the moving clouds and some of the fire chomps and fire snakes that may come up along the way. Took a little bit of damage, but he's still hanging in there pretty well. Making his way through the gauntlet, and looks like he's coming up on Fort Knox, so he's going to take a little bit of time to activate the P switch. to get the Tanuki suit in the lower section because he's going to need some form of flight in order to get to Boom Boom's room. I couldn't remember if Jabem had an extra P-Wing in his inventory or if he ended up burning through the remainder of them in World 6. But usually if I knew I had a P-Wing in my inventory, I probably would have taken a Death in that Lava and then just started over to just to re-enter the level with that P-Wing. I think it would have saved a little bit of time in the long run. But in Jabem's case, I'm actually not that sure. So he'll be making his way through 7-3. So this is going to be one of the more straightforward levels that you'll encounter in World 7. Just some pretty straightforward platforming, some power-ups along the way if you should feel so inclined. Enemy spawns really aren't that bad. They're pretty comparable to vanilla. Lakitu's always going to be in his usual spot, being a jerk. So looks like Jabem opted to take a bit of a damage boost so he can build some more speed without that tail. So we're going to be doing some more pipe checks along the way, and RickyofKokiri is doing another set of the end-spade cards. So I'll be interesting to see what he picks up along the way, because looks like he's doing a really good job with these. So if he picks up some clouds and hammers, that'll be a really good opportunity for him to catch up. So Jabem's making his way through the first Piranha level, so we'll see what item he picks up from this. It looks like it's a hammer, very nice. So that'll definitely come in handy. You can never have too many of those, especially in the group flag sets. But looks like he's not even going to need the. Looks like he's not going to need the hammer in World 7 just because he has a path open to get to the World 7 airship. But it could come in handy for World 8, especially if he has to navigate through a pretty nasty dark room. So with that end spade in his way, it looks like we'll see how his luck ends up being. And it looks like Ricky took a death in 4-1. Yeah, some of those Power Goombas can be pretty tricky if you're not expecting them, because they can just jump up right in your face when you're just trying to make your way to the end. So, looks like Jabem found his way to the Far East Island, so up next he'll be making his way through 7-2. I think that at this point, like, considering how far he is in the seed, it's probably a level that I would opt to cloud if I had the opportunity, especially if you don't have a way of flying over or running past that big gap. So Jabem's going to build some P-speed here, and it looks like he's going to try to clip through that pipe and where the note block is. So he's going to have to be pretty precise with his inputs, and then hope he has good sub-pixels along the way, and a frame rule that will allow him to get through that wall. The only setback is that it could consume a lot of time if you end up making a lot of attempts at it. And since he doesn't know where Ricky is with respect to where he is in the seed, it'd probably be a good idea just to go the pedestrian route if all else fails. A little bit of trouble with the no block, so he's gonna make another round at it. So looks like Ricky is very well prepared to make his way through 6-5. He has his tail equipped, and that Angry Sun isn't going to do anything because the level's not long enough for him to activate. Meanwhile, we welcome everybody from the main SpeedGaming channel. They actually just finished up a randomizer race themselves. So welcome everybody. But it looks like we have another really rough World 7, level 7-5. So this is another level that's especially nasty on a pretty consistent basis whenever you do Randomizer, just because you're navigating through some pretty narrow pathways, and yeah, stuff like the Goomba chute that will just try to get in your way nonstop and just won't let up. And when you have a very limited space where you could be moving when you're making your way through those tunnels, it's very easy for something like a boss bass or an angry sun to just snipe you. So Ricky is making his way through 6F2, and that'll be the last fort that he'll have to play before he makes his way over to the airship, where he'll be fighting Lemmy as well. So we'll see what plans Jabem has in store in order to get through 7-5. I know it can be really tricky. It looks like he got that clip on his first try, very nicely done, so he'll be able to skip 2 rooms. So he's gonna just using the invisible blocks that he'll need to build a bridge. He's going to build another bridge right here and then make another attempt at those wall clips. So this is actually one of the better 7-5s I've seen in Randomizer, because when you have a boss bass or an angry sun, as I mentioned before, in that section, it can make doing wall clips, especially a major chore that's probably not worth it in the long run. So it looks like couldn't recall if Jabem had any music boxes in his inventory to skip the piranha levels, but even then, if you're able to get through the piranhas pretty optimally, it's only about 15 seconds to grab the item, and it's going to be a star. So we have a P-Wing going into the World 7 airship. So we'll see if he decides to hold on to it, or if he's going to just ditch the tail and then just do P-Speed strats the rest of the way to Ludwig von Koopa. It looks like to be the case. So very good platforming on his end. Meanwhile, we see RickyofKokiri. He's making his way through World 7 as well. So depending on what items he got from his end fate card, this could be a pretty linear path to the Eastern Island. So fresh out of the gate, we have the World 8 Air Force. So once again, this is normally a level that would be an auto-scroller, but since that's disabled, it'll be some pretty straightforward platforming across some of those individual ships and the rocky wrenches. So it'd be a good idea to just keep rhythm with those jumps. Definitely one of those levels where it's safer just to go through as normal Mario than use a tail, because sometimes your flutters can mess up your rhythm and your momentum, and it's very easy just to slide off one of those ships. So Jabem has no problem just making quick work of Boom Boom. So with 2 pipes open, we'll see what that level unlocked. We'll have a nice quick path to Bowser. So he's gonna play the Navy next. We have Ricky making his way through 7-2. So we'll see if he decides to go for any clips himself, or if he's just going to build the no-block bridge and then just go through the traditional way, which it looks like to be the case. We have Jabem finishing up the Navy, so we'll see what that decides to unlock. Path open to one of those tanks. We don't know if it's going to be treated as a regular level, or if it's going to be treated as a fort that can unlock something. Speaking of forts, we have the World 8 Fort. So this is one of those levels where it'd be good to have a secondary power-up like the Fire Flower. Even though power-ups are shuffled in this game, it's worth noting that there's always going to be some sort of mushroom available in the World 8 fort, just because you need to be big in order to break those blocks in order to make your way through that doorway. And you'll see a couple other exceptions like this in Randomizer. Like you'll always see, you'll always have a set of stars in level 7-7, as Gamer Cal mentioned before in chat. All right, so we have a nice one cycle on that P-switch, very nicely done. While we have Ricky making his way through a similar gambit of enemies in 7-5. So we'll see if he's able to hold on to just long enough to get to the end as Small Mario, because I don't think there's any other opportunities where you'll be able to get a mushroom or a star or anything like that. So, looks like Jabem came full circle with the set of pipes that he had chosen. We have our first hand trap in World 8. It's going to be the shortest one. It'll only take about 14 to 15 seconds, depending on if you count screen transitions as well. And he gets a hammer suit, so he'll have an opportunity to get a quick kill on Bowser. And we have a path open to Bowser's castle. Very nice. So Jabem's going to use one of his 2 hammer suits in his inventory. Just a quick work of some of those piranhas. That P-speed past the hot foot, and yeah, normally the traditional way in vanilla would just be to maintain P-speed through the remainder of the level. But since you don't always have the convenience of a Koopa to boost off of in order to make your way over to the pipe, probably a good idea just to slow down exactly where Jabem did. So really nice, quick thinking on his part. So he'll have an extra hammer suit left over, and he'll be going full force to Bowser's castle. Doesn't look like he opted to go for the swag click this time, but that dry bones is right there if he decides to get a boost onto that wall and then just clip into the wall. So that's usually an approach that would be taken in the SMB3 task, or at least that's how that route was originally used. Saves a little bit of time over going through the donuts and through the elevator, but that's only assuming you get it within 1 or 2 tries. Some pixels aren't necessarily cooperating with Jabem in this castle right now. And considering he's going to end up in the donut and statue room before Bowser that has the shuffled fireballs, we'll see if he's able to hold on to that hammer suit for the fight itself. So considering how much he's struggling, I don't know if he's going to continue going with that clip, or if he's just going to do an about-face turnaround and then just go through the level normally. Well, it looks like Ricky's doing a pretty solid job catching up with the tail in the World 7 airship. And commentator's curse. Looks like he just miscalculated some of his flutters and then just missed one of those platforms. I gotta respect Jabem's determination on getting that clip, because normally by that time I would have just gone around and done the pedestrian route. I know this clip can be pretty difficult, but I don't think I've had it this rough in any recent memory. And we finally get it. Very nice. Definitely have a lot of respect for him for going for as long as he did. So, yeah, looks like Jabem did a really good job maneuvering past those multiple fireballs and the randomized lasers from the statues. Meanwhile, hello Bowser. Goodbye Bowser. Ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs out for Jabem. Very nicely done. We have official SRL time of 44:04 for Jabem. Very nicely done. We'll see. We'll see what RickyofKokiri does in World 8. Looks like he's taking a bit of a pause here, and his timer stopped. Okay, I just took a look in SRL. It looks like Ricky has decided to forfeit this race. So once again, give both of our races GG. And meanwhile, we'll be setting up for round 2 of this race. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. We have a question in chat. What settings will be used for round 2? Okay, so for the Group 2 flag sets, it's going to be pretty similar to the race they just did. So all of the power-ups are going to be randomized. All the enemy spawns are going to be randomized within the levels, just like we just saw. But the world order is going to be shuffled, and all of the levels that are in the game are going to be shuffled, regardless of where they are originally in their respective worlds. We'll also have an opportunity to potentially see some of the beta levels that didn't make it to the final version of the game. And similar to this race, hammers will still be able to break locks, and both of our racers will be able to do the end speed game again. Once again, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone, on SpeedGaming 6. Once again, I am Teeks88, and I'm commenting for the SMB3 Randomizer 2020 tournament. We just finished round one between RickyofKokiri versus Jabem. Jabem took the first round with the group one seeds. So we're going to be starting round two with the group two flag set, and it looks like we're going to be starting off with round 5. I mean, with World 5. So, first level out of the gate, we have the World 8 Fortress. Fortunately, it looks like Ricky took an early death with that rotodisc. Sometimes they can be pretty tricky to maneuver around just because sometimes they reverse trajectory compared to how you would normally expect to find them in vanilla. So it's going to be a couple seconds at a disadvantage, but yeah, as soon as he gets that power up, the mushroom right there, he'll be in pretty good shape. Looks like Jabem was able to get the one cycle P-switch, so he was going to have a nice quick boom kill. And right now we'll see what we have next. 4-6. So this is going to be another tricky level just because of there's so much stuff that could potentially obstruct your path as you're trying to make your way through with P-speed. So it's not the most convenient thing to play in the world, but it looks like Jabem's having no problem with it, and he's making good use of his gliding and fluttering with the tail. So he's able to fly over to safety, and he'll be getting through there no problem. Very nicely done. Meanwhile, it looks like Ricky is going to have to make a second cycle at that P-switch. So we'll see if he decides to wait and hold on to his power-up, or if he's just going to damage boost, and it looks like it's going to be the former. Probably not a bad idea considering level 4-6 is going to be up next, and you want to get through it as safely as you can. So we have Jabem make his way through the first hammer bro fight of the game. We'll see what's in that chest. And it's going to be a P-wing. Alright, so it looks like there's no other pipes that are available on the ground map for World 5, so both 5 racers are going to have no choice but to go through the spiral tower in order to get to the sky section. So, not the easiest thing to get P-speed when you already have a tail, so you're going to have to make do without any P-speed, making it past the second room. But thankfully, the enemy spawns aren't too bad here. Thankfully, the rotodisc isn't in your way when you're trying to run past that thwomp. It's very easy just to get cornered in by both of them as you're making your way through. All right, we'll see how Ricky fares against the hammer bro fights. We have a fire bro, able to get a nice quick dodge, and he gets a hammer. So Jabem has a choice between taking a pipe path or just going, just continuing down the route he's already going on. So we have 7-3. Once again, a pretty straightforward level. The enemies aren't really going to be an issue on a pretty consistent basis. So he's able to just run through there no problem, get a safety star along the way, just knocks out Lakitu. And before he even has a chance to respawn and cause any more trouble, yeah, he's already pretty much right at the end. So, not the easiest thing in the world to be going through the spiral tower as Small Mario, but he's able to get that power up right away. And he's able to do some pretty nice dodging across those rotodiscs. Easy to build P-speed here if that's what he is inclined. Doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Oh, he did build the P-speed, but at a platform. Well, we see Jabem already finishing up World 5. He's making his way through the World 6 airship. But he's still going to be facing Roy Koopa. So the Koopalings are always going to match with what world they originally you find them in vanilla. looks like he had a bit of a miscalculated jump and then just ran right into that wand. So we have 2 hits. Just as he got to the third one, it looks like there was a bit of hitbox collision, so he's gonna have to start again. The interesting thing about Koopaling fights is that sometimes you have these weird collision interactions between Mario and certain enemies, and that has to do with the speed at which the hitboxes are coming in contact with one another. So the Koopaling reaches its max velocity just a couple frames after it initiates the jump. And you have a similar situation with the Cheeps in 3-2 when you're trying to boost your way past the water to get to the exit. So those are some pretty notorious situations where you can encounter stuff like that. So we have RickyofKokiri making his way through 3-9. So gonna see if he maintains that P speed and he can get the H jump. Looks like it was really close. He might have been able to do it if he maintained that full leap after stomping the Goomba. But again, he gets through there no problem. He didn't really have any issues with lag. So he's gonna want to be a little bit more careful around that around the Big Bertha and the blooper. Really not a fun situation to be in, especially a small Mario. This looks like a really nasty setup, but he's able to just barely maneuver past, just go in between them and get to the exit, so very nicely done. See what Jabem's attempt at the end spade game looks like. So looks like he already gathered some good information. He was able to get that first mushroom pair, so I'll be interested to see what item he picked up in his inventory. Meanwhile, we have Ricky making his way through the World 6 airship, and hopefully he'll have some better luck against Roy Koopa. Thankfully, he'll be able to get another power-up from the question mark block coming up right now. So it's always a good idea to get whatever bits of safety you can in situations like that. Trouble with making his way past the first Piranha level in World 7. The star is definitely a good option to have when you're doing either of the two Piranha levels. So he gets through there pretty seamlessly, picks up a cloud along the way. Unfortunately, it looks like Ricky had some similar issues with Roy that Jabem did. So he's going to have to, he'll have a bit of a minor setback as well. So we have Ricky making round 2 out of the Roy Koopa fight. So we'll see how much luck he has with him now. So that's 1 hit. That's 2. 3. And he's going to be a 4-hitter. Very nicely done. I had a little bit of trouble in 4F1. Again, it's definitely one of those levels where it's worthwhile to have a secondary power-up. Just because of all the things that could potentially damage you right in the beginning. So Jabem's taking a bit of a risk with that, with the anchor cloud, and see if that the second fort that's on that eastern island is going to be the one that unlocks his way to the airship. So if it pays off, it's going to be at a pretty substantial lead. We have Ricky just starting up World 7 right now, so we'll see how he opts to approach that. Just doing some pipe checks as we speak, and we'll see. Ooh, it looks like he's doing 6F2 right now to start. So we'll see if he can pick up another leaf, and which he does. So he's going to build some P speed and then just fly through the underside of just to skip the first half of the fort. So this will be a good opportunity to do, and he's able to get through there without taking any damage. So looks like he opted to hold on to that tail there as opposed to doing some damage boosting. So Yeah, very nicely done. Just getting past Boom Boom. Ricky's going to be making his attempt at the end card cycle. It's going to be his first attempt in the seed as well. So we have one pair right off the bat. So we'll see what item he was able to get in his inventory. As I had mentioned before, the round 2 tourney group flag is going to allow both of our players to potentially see some beta levels that didn't make it into the final version of the game. And this is one of them. So, yeah, it looks like a pretty pedestrian first half of the level, and then you have a bit of swimming around past those bloopers and Big Berthas. But he's able to get through there, no damage. Very nicely done again. So Jabem's just going to play the second Piranha level straight. Didn't have any Piranha getting in his way in the first pipe. So he's going to just get through the rest of there with P-Speed, and then just he'll be making his way out of here with the Mushroom. So he'll be making his way to the World 4 airship, and he's doing some winding back, and he's going to build P-Speed so we could just skip over all the all the platform past those large gaps. So it's definitely a skill that you could definitely develop if you've played the ROM hack SMB3 mix, because you'll be revisiting that level in that game as well. So Jabem is definitely well versed in how to do that strat. We have 4 hits, and looks like Ludwig von Koopa is going to be a 5-hitter, and it looks like he was able to get through that without any more hitbox collision. So very nicely done. So we'll get your guesses in. What's going to be the next subworld that both of our racers are going to be encountering? World 3. Ooh, it looks like Ricky had a bit of issues with that Thwomp in 4F1. So once again, Ricky's going to take a gamble on the anchor cloud and skip past it, and he'll be happy to find out that that's actually going to be the fort that unlocks the way to the airship. So this is going to be a good opportunity for him to catch up. Fortunately, though, he doesn't have the mushroom. He only has a mushroom because he entered the fort as small, so he's not going to have a leaf at his convenience to fly through the underway. So he's going to have to take it a little bit more slowly past the horizontal moving thwomps. He has some pretty good navigation skills, and that Fire Flower is going to definitely serve him well once he gets to the Boom Boom fight. So meanwhile, Jabem's making a second pass at the end spade card game. We'll see if he gets any pairs, and he gets a pair of flowers, very nice. And he gets a pair of 10 coins. So once again, I'm interested to see if he'll have any hammers or clouds in his inventory to make things a little bit easier on himself. But nonetheless, he's going to play the fort anyway, and he's going to build some P-Speed just to get past Super Tank. Gets it just in time after reaching that last set of rocky wrenches. This is going to be a pretty straightforward Boom Boom fight. 1, 2, and 3 he's down. And meanwhile, on Kokiri's side, we have a little bit of lag accumulating through World 6-8. So that's pretty par for the course, even for vanilla, with how many nippers you would normally encounter in the regular game. So once again, Ricky making easy work of some of the enemies in this level now that he has the Fire Flower at his disposal. Jabem didn't have any P-Speed going into 5F2, but he's able to just navigate through, grab the power-up along the way that served him well past those Potaboos. So he'll be making his way through the second fort. And 3 he's down. So looks like Ricky didn't have any P-Speed going past the horizontal moving thwomps, so we'll see if he's able to he'll fare a little bit better. Looks like it's a good idea on his side to just to draw that hot foot out and give himself some extra space to run past them. So thankfully he had another Fire Flower in his at his disposal, so you'll be making quick work of Boom Boom. Once again, we see Jabem in 7-2. Not really the power up he probably wanted, but unless he's able to get a mushroom as so we can grow big, he won't be able. Okay, so he got the mushroom, so he'll be able to make another attempt at those at the clip that he wanted to do with the note blocks. So let's. It doesn't look like he's gonna really go for it this time. He's just going to take the normal way around, just use the note block bridge to get past the gap. Probably his best option at this point, is considering how unlucky he was in the last seed. And typical Paragoomba being a jerk as always. So Ricky is making his way through the swimming beta level as well. So that's definitely a good place to have a Fire Flower, especially since you want to get those bloopers and Big Berthas out of your way as soon as possible. Get a nice clear path open for yourself to get to the pipe. It looks like, and congratulations to Jabem for clearing the board on the end speed game. So it looks like he picked up some good items along the way. He has he got a leaf, he got a Fire Flower. I think I saw a cloud somewhere in the first sheet of in the first slot of his inventory. So we'll see how he makes use of those in the next few worlds. It looks like Larry ends up being a one-hitter. So once again, get your guesses out for the next subworld that both of our racers will be playing. Right, we see a 3. Have a 2. I'm gonna go with 3 as well. And yes, that Larry Koopa ended up being a one-hitter. It looks like Jabem's going to be playing World 4, so we'll see. We'll see if that fort that's directly in our path right now is going to be the one that unlocks the bridge to get to the airship. So this could potentially be a really quick world if RNG is good to us. Alright, so we have World 5, Fortress 1, so definitely a really, really good level to have a leaf in. If God forbid the Thwomp and the Road of Disc ends up being pretty tough in their arrangement, he had the opportunity to damage boost twice, and he'll be able to get through there no problem. Right, so the 5F1 has ended up being the one to open up the path to the airship. Looks like this one's going to be the World 7 airship. So Jabem has a good opportunity to pick up 2 power-ups along the way, and then he'll be making his way over to Iggy Koopa. Nasty hitbox interactions as we've come to expect from him. So Ricky's making his way through 4F2 right now. Took a little bit of damage along the way from those rotor discs, but it's very hard to avoid them, especially if they have some pretty tricky reverse trajectory paths in their rotation. Very nicely done on Jabem's end, so he'll be out of his way for World 4. So once again, get your guesses out for the next world. I'll keep going with World 3. I do believe at this point both of our players do have at least 1 or 2 hammers in their inventory. So even so, World 6 is going to be a really good overworld map to be making use of hammers, either to break the rocks or the locks. Because once again, it is a pretty long overworld, so if you can't rely on the pipe pads to give you a quick access to the latter half of to get to the airship, that's probably having something to break those locks would probably be your best alternative as well. And then once again, hoping that one of the forts isn't needed to open a bridge right before the castle. So thankfully, that fortress was not in Jabem, was not far out of the way for Jabem to get to. So might as well just knock it out as soon as you can, rather than backtrack at a later time. So we see the level 1-5 beta. So once again, very similar to vanilla. You're gonna have some hills, tunnels, pipes with a bunch of piranhas. Here than the final version of the in the game, but he gets through there. You have Ricky finishing up 5F2, taking it a little bit carefully past those Potaboos. If you didn't have P-Speed right away to just run right through there, it's probably a good idea just to take it a little bit slowly, because it's if you end up on a bad timing cycle, it's very easy to get hit by one of those upside-down Potaboos as you're trying to jump past the platforms. Thankfully, he's able to hold on to his fire flowers, so he'll have a quick work of Boom Boom. And so Jabem is making his way through level 3-1. So again, this is going to be a pretty easy level, even similar to vanilla. There's not really going to be that many enemies in your way that could cause you any trouble, so you could either swim around them, or you know, just continue running along the ceiling path as you would normally do. The only time 3-1 could potentially be an issue is there's a cheap that can be right at the bottom of the ocean, and then just kind of shoot up really quickly before you have a chance to react to it. He's making his way to 3-2 right now, and it looks like he didn't have any nasty cheap hitbox interactions, as is pretty common for this level. He's just able to get through there the same way you would normally do in normal SMB3. So the same cheaps are going to be in their same locations. Jabem opted to use a cloud here, and he didn't have any bridge obstructing his path to the airship. So considering he's close to the end of the game, it's not a bad idea to start burning through those clouds, you know, before we have a chance to miss out on them in World 8. So looks like Jabem's going to go for the fire kill on Lemmy Koopa, and he's able to get that no problem. And it's a really good opportunity, especially since Lemmy's hitbox is really close to the ground, considering that the ball he's standing on is already inside of it. Goal to get those 10 fireballs into him. While we have Ricky just finishing up the World 1 King, or saving the World 1 King, rather. Speaking of World 1, we have Jabem in the World 1 Fortress, so we'll see if he decides to go for the item grab on top, or if he's just going to take the lower route to get to Boom Boom. And it looks like he doesn't have any other choice at this point, so he's going to try and despawn the Boo there. Wasn't able to get the clip, so he's just going to go through the normal spike room. So it'll cost him a couple seconds, but it's at least safe and doesn't really lose any more than a couple seconds. So he has a nice quick fire kill on Boom Boom. Making his way through World 4 right now. So he's going to take it a little bit carefully with 5F1, and I honestly can't blame him. Those rotodiscs can be really tough to get past. especially since they can kind of sneak up on you when, you know, before they have a chance to fully load on screen. Gets caught a little bit by the boo, but he's still in pretty good shape. But Jabem rounding up 1-2 right now, so doesn't look like he's going to go for any power up from the note block. He's able to get a nice quick snipe on that boss bash, so very nicely job. That was very clutch on his part. So Ricky is finishing up a hammer bro fight. It looks like he got caught by that hammer just now, so we'll see what he gets from there. And the star. Jabem finishing up the World 2 airship right now. So looks like Morton Koopa ended up being a one-hitter. So by process of elimination, that just leaves World 3 right now. So once he rounds that up, we'll be making our way over to World 8. We have Ricky making his way through the World 7 airship, where he'll be finishing up World 4. So we'll see. Treat him. A little bit careful on those nut and screw sections, and I can't blame him because flutters can really mess up your rhythm if you're not careful. Good use of that tail just to catch Iggy while he's in midair. So really nicely done on Ricky's part. So. I do believe that World 7 was one of the earlier worlds in this round. So Jabem is making his way through 5-3 right now. It's definitely one of the longer levels to contend with that isn't an auto-scroller. He's able to get through there no problem. Personally, I probably would have clouded one of those levels, and I think it would have been fully justified. But regardless of whether it's in his inventory, it looks like he had the skill to get through there pretty quickly. Oh, it looks like Ricky had a bit of a tough time with the 1.5 beta. A bit of catching up to do. We have Jabem making his way through World 3 right now, so he's doing some pipe checks right now. He has a hammer in his inventory, so this is going to be a really quick overworld for him. So he's already on the World 3 airship, so he's going to be facing Wendy in her in World 3 in the World 3 airship. We'll see how many hits she ends up being. She ends up being a one-hitter. Thankfully, we didn't have to deal with her with any wacky jump patterns or having to maneuver past any of those really difficult rings that would consistently stay on screen. Stop my battleship. Alright, so Jabem's going to be making his way through the properly dubbed Equalizer, World 8. So, we'll see how much of a maze these pipe pads and map screens are going to be for him. So you'll have the Air Force right out of the gate, so we know it's going to unlock something. So looks like Jabem's going to take the right path, the right pipe. So looks like he has the navy right there. So he might as well play it since it's pretty much right there, rather than gambling on skipping it. So we have RickyofKokiri still making his way through the World 6 map. It looks like he's going to take a few pit stops here or there to pick up some items along the way. Probably not a bad idea. It's going to be a little bit safe and avoid the Hammer Bro that's right there. So he'll be making his way through 3-1. Rounding up 3F2 with the tail. So we have Jabem making his way through the dark room right now, trying to find his way to the Valley of Bowser. And it looks like it's going to be 2 levels that he'll need to, and he'll have 2 bridges to build in order to make it to Bowser's Castle. So he still has a little bit of work ahead of him right now. So we have Ricky making his way through 3-2. He's taking the he's going to take the raft over across. It's going to be a little bit slower, but it's definitely one of the safer ways rather than having to contend with the cheap jeeps. So Ricky's doing a really good job just making his way through the remainder of World 6. Once he decides to use any clouds here, it's pretty much a straightforward path to get to the airship. While he's playing 6-3, he's going to have to be a little bit careful here because of those fire snakes, and honestly, I don't blame him. I probably would have done the same. Jabem finishing up the 1-6 beta, which is new to this randomizer, and the first time we're encountering it in a randomizer tournament. So you might see some parallels between this level and the level 1-3 that you would normally see in SMB1, especially with the reference to the moving horizontal platforms. Ooh, and it looks like Ricky's going to have to do some backtracking to unlock use one of the forts to unlock that bridge to the airship. So it's still going to cost him a little bit of time. So Jabem's going to be finishing up the World 2 Fortress, doing a pretty good job navigating past those boos. So he'll probably be doing another pipe check to see if that unlocks his way to Bowser's Castle. I do believe he has a hammer suit in his inventory that he either got from the Hammer Bros or the end Spade game. So hopefully, fingers crossed on his behalf. Hopefully that'll be what it takes to get to the end. So both racers are finishing up their own respective boom boom fights. So Jabem's going to do another pipe check, and we'll see. This is the moment of truth. And that ends up being the lucky 2, so you'll be going in there full force with the hammer suit. See if he decides to go through the, he'll decide to go for the task clip, which he doesn't, so he's just going to take the, upper route with the elevator, and he gets the clip, so he's going to save a little bit of time just navigating past those roto discs. It wouldn't normally save time in vanilla, but it does save time in a randomizer since you would ordinarily have to take it a little bit slowly considering the reverse path of those discs. So he's not going to opt for any more clips. He's just going to play straight and then just take a chance on those shuffled fireballs. Unfortunately, he loses his hammer suit, so it's going to cost him a bit of time, but he's still going to brave it out and then just finish up the Bowser fight the traditional way. As we see Jabem demonstrating the Bowser's hitbox is only half of his head. So he'll be able to just stay low and, just stay close to the ground and then just let Bowser cell phone himself. So he's only one broken floor path, one broken floor tile away from finishing up. And down goes Bowser. Ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs out for Jabem. Very nicely done. And Jabem finishes up with an official SRL time of 35:28. Congratulations. So we'll be reaching out to him shortly to see if we can get any interviews. Looks like RickyofKokiri has decided to forfeit. So we'll see. We'll be reaching out to both of our racers to see if they'll be interviewing with us as well. So do give both of our racers a follow. Both did a very good job.
What up?
And it looks like we're joined by Jabem in the commentary booth. GG's, my friend.
Yeah, good game. Yeah, the first one, I had a difficult time starting out. I just had a, frazzled nature, and I ended up doing, levels I wasn't even supposed to. So that was kind of funny. But once I got into the swing of it, everything felt really comfortable.
Hello.
Hello. Good games, Ricky.
Thank you. Thank you.
Apparently we can't hear Teeks, but
Yeah.
everybody else can. Oh dear.
Well, I was actually really surprised at how well I did in the first seed. Second seed went about as well as I normally do.
Second seed was kind of crazy. There was a lot of stuff going on there. Just a lot of room for, a lot of pathing tricks that you could do to get around the map fast.
Yeah, I'm not too good at the tricks. I got stuck in a few spots. I died too many times.
They also gave us, 5 hammers, and we didn't even get to use, more than 2. Even the ones that I think I did use in the second seed weren't that helpful. Except for the one in World 3, because I didn't want to go back and do any more.
Right.
Well, I had a good time. I hope you did too.
Yeah, I had a good time.
I'm gonna sign off here. Thanks for the commentary, Teeks. It would be nice if we could hear you, but since we can't, I'm just gonna let you give the sign off for these people because I don't know when to stop talking.
Oh, hello. I'm so sorry. I got everything fixed. Really sorry about the delay just now. I can hear you both now.
There you go, Teeks.
Okay. So yeah, GG to you, Jabem. Did you have any initial impressions?
Just the ones that I just went over there while you were in.
I'm so sorry about that.
I don't know if they could hear me. I hope so.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like both of you had a pretty solid job on the end speed game in both of those randomizer seeds.
Yeah, the first one, again, I did have a weird start, just like, every time I get into racing mode, I have like the first 5 minutes of it, just my brain doesn't work. I like just did a fort that just didn't even need to be done for no reason, just out
Yeah,
of
I
weird,
noticed
like,
that as well. I kind of figured you just did a bit of a detour, knowing that it was going to be 1F so that you can get a power up along the way. I didn't know if that was a safety measure or if you just genuinely messed up the routing.
I messed up the routing. I thought the door was like 1 block low, which would have put it in the way.
I can understand that because sometimes the lock can just be in a way where it just obstructs your path, and then sometimes it just kind of lets you through. So if you're just kind of in the mindset of just going fast, it's very easy to miss something like that. So I understand.
Yeah, I need to like spend more time like evaluating the overworld, because I usually am used to having to overworld really perfectly from speedrunning full games that are the same all the time. But in the randomizer, you really got to take like at least a couple of seconds to just not move and just think about what your path is that you want to do.
Yeah, that's definitely a really good point as well. I have a similar issue, honestly, especially in something like World 6. We have a bunch of those pipes that are just scattered all over a pretty long overworld map as it is. So sometimes I just end up playing a bunch of levels just from left to right rather than just trying to have a good convenient path open with with clouds and hammers that could probably get me to the fortress a little bit sooner.
Yeah, definitely.
So Jabem, it looks like you have one more match coming up with Cobra on Friday. Do you have anything specific that you want to be working on, or do you have any plans to practice in advance?
There's some individual levels that I just make very similar mistakes on regularly that I kind of want to do some work on. That's
Did you have any specific in mind?
yeah, like there's certain forts, like the lava fort, where I know how to do it with power-ups, but not small. So I'd like to have a path, especially like if it's the first level in the game. Just like have a plan for some of the.
That's understandable. Fortunately, you will be able to do the P-Speed strat similar to in both randomizer and vanilla while you're doing Small Mario. But it's very easy just to get thrown off by a very small margin, just because his jump physics feel a little bit different compared to whether he was like a mushroom or a fire flower Mario.
Yeah.
Going for the World 4 airship P-Speed strat. I know that you're very much familiar with that from doing a lot of free mix.
Yeah, but even then, I actually messed it up today. I did a jump that was too short, and that's something that I don't think I've ever done before in that particular airship. I guess it's just been too long because the platforms after the first big jump are a little bit different.
Some of those jump inputs can be pretty tight, especially since you have to measure your distance as you're doing some of those full leaps. It's very easy just to rub up against one of those small platforms where where those jet flames would normally be.
Yeah.
So I mean, even when you do know the strat, it's very easy just to just have one small thing that could just throw things off a bit. But on the whole, I think you did a really good job between both of these seeds. So congratulations on both of your wins, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you do against Macobra.
Yeah, thanks, GG, Ricky, and thanks again for doing the commentary.
Oh, my pleasure. It's really been a pleasure to be behind the mic for this. And yeah, really good job to you too, Ricky. Looks like you did a really good job keeping up with Jabem for the majority of both of these races.
I was very surprised. I was very surprised on the first seed. I like when he got done, right when I entered World A, I was like, I was that close behind? Whoa.
Oh yeah, and it continued that way for at least 3 or 4 worlds, and then as soon as Jabem was able to make some good use of some of his inventory items, he just kind of jetted ahead and then just didn't relent on that. So it looks like he had some really good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I really need to get better about using the inventory items. I do 2 end card games, and I didn't use like half the items. I need to get better about that.
Yeah, similar to Jabem, you did a really fantastic job on both sets of end spade games in both of those seeds. I'm kind of surprised you didn't really check your inventory to see what you got, because I really think you could have capitalized on some of the P-Wings and Fire Flowers and Hammer and Flats that you got along the way.
The P-Wings, I have issues with the P-Wings because I'm like, oh, that'll help me get through there pretty fast, but they're really slow compared to just running. But it's like a balancing thing.
Yeah, the good thing about P-Wings, especially in the Group 1 flag set, is that you have a pretty good idea of what levels you're going to go into next, since a lot of it is going to be drawn from vanilla.
Right,
but
right.
It's a little bit harder to strategize in flags 2 because you don't know what level you're going to be playing until you actually enter it. So you have a bit of a hindsight is 2020 sort of situation.
Yeah, totally.
But I think that even in some situations where the P-Wing is a little bit slower, it's still a really good safety measure if there's a lot of tricky platforming involved. Like with 4-5, I know that you flew over a bunch of those bullet bills rather than just try to contend with those and some of the piranha points along the way. So it looks like for you, Ricky, it looks like you're going to be closing out your matches for the Group A for the first chapter of this tournament. So
yeah, this was my last race in the tournament.
But even so, I think you did a really fantastic job, and I'm really glad you had an opportunity to debut your skills in this tournament. So
yeah, I had a lot of fun. So I'm going to keep playing. This is my first real shot at playing this particular randomizer, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to keep practicing it. Do better next time.
Absolutely, and we're always happy to have more people in the community join in and stick with us. So I'm really looking forward to just seeing some more matches and races and seeing how you progress along the way. So really, once again, GG's to both of you racers. It's been a really good show. Congratulations again, Jabem.
Thanks.
Right, so just taking a look at the schedule real quick. It looks like we're going to have another match between, I do believe, I'm sorry, let me just pull it up real quick. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have another match on SpeedGaming 2 between Narfman and Prior 57. So once again, I'll be behind the mic with my co-con Diesel Pilot, and that'll be happening at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll have 2 more tournament matches tomorrow at 6 and 9 p.m. between Magu is Adorable versus Jay Culper on SpeedGaming 2, and Raikou Rider versus DLP316 on SpeedGaming 2 as well. So yeah, just coming up in a little over an hour. We'll have some more randomizer fun coming down the pipeline. So you're not going to miss it. You're not going to want to miss it. So in the meantime, have a good night, everybody, and I'll look forward to talking to you again real soon.
And everyone.
GG's. Have a good night.